Hey, welcome to another episode of Footnotes. You know, there's an old saying that it takes about a decade to create an overnight success. But in the case of Nick Hauser, I think he would say it takes about 400 Saturdays. In this interview, we talked to Nick Hauser of Indah Coffee to learn more about how you build a market and also how it really does take time to create things that are worth it. Hey, we're back for another episode of Footnotes. I've got probably one of the people I've known for the longest amount of time since I've been in Columbia as a guest today, Nick Hauser, Indah Coffee. And what you might also hear in the background is some of the, as we're calling it, the sounds of progress here in Columbia as they repair one of the intersections downtown. Hopefully that's not going to be too distracting. But Nick, thanks for joining us.
I'm delighted to be here.
And I think people know you around town for your coffee shop, Indah. But I think what people might not realize is that Indah has not always been a coffee shop, has it?
No, we started very grassroots. It was really something that was inspired by travel, and came back from those travels and started roasting coffee, and then I picked up an expensive hobby, and started roasting coffee in my garage, and then started giving that to friends and family, and then pretty soon people said, "This is pretty good. You should take it down to some of the markets and that kind of thing, see if you could do something with this." So I thought, well, we've invested some money into this, and why not? I'll give it a go. And I enjoyed talking about coffee with people, and so we signed up for the all-local market, which was at 701 Whaley at the time. And
okay. And what year was that? About what?
That was in 2010.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah. So
seems like 100 years ago.
Almost. And so anyway, we started going to the all-local market on Saturdays, and I've always loved cafes for the community aspect, and I think the all-local market provided that kind of community aspect. I have friends who I first met as customers in 2010, 2011 that still come in every week and get a cup of coffee with us. So wow. It's become kind of a ritual. But so anyway, at the time there wasn't really an intention to I'm gonna take this and make this a full-time thing. This was just I was having fun, something I was passionate about, enjoyed talking to people about. And then, true story, we actually didn't have a brewer. People would say, well, can I try to sample this before I buy it? And
like make coffee out of the beans you were roasting?
Right, so we were very much just bootstrapping this thing and hadn't really thought through a strategy of how we're gonna grow this thing, how we're gonna scale this thing.
So you were just selling people beans. You're like, hey, you go grind them yourself. You go make your own coffee.
Right.
I'm just the bean guy.
And it was kind of one of those things like, how much do I want to put into this thing? Because it's really a hobby, but, how much do I want to invest in this? How much do I want to try to grow this?
Did investment just mean money, or was it money and time, or?
I think I didn't mind the time so much on Saturdays. When I started doing some like other evening events, it did become that at a later point. To start with, it was mainly just money. And but people kept saying, once we did get we started brewing coffee on site, people kept saying, I look forward to this cup of coffee all week. And
wow.
Of course, I should back up and say the all-local market kind of morphed into Soda City market.
Okay.
So we moved
some
with
Columbia
that original
history there. Like, so you were in Soda City before it was Soda City.
That's correct.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and so when it moved to Main Street, after 5 or 6 months, it started to say like, wow, this has potential. This thing can grow. And I guess it was actually a couple of years into it when the sales started to, started thinking, this actually could become something. I think around 2011, 2012, our first wholesale customer was Oak Table. And we set up at the market, a few booths down, and kind of built a relationship. They liked our coffee and had asked if we would, if we could roast for them. And so at that point, that was kind of the first time I made a significant investment, I finished out our detached garage behind my house, and we built a roastery there and got a Department of Agriculture food manufacturing facility. So that was kind of the first, bigger step as far as investment.
Roughly when did you build the roastery at your house?
That was, I guess we started that around 2012.
Okay. So about 2 years after you started at the market, that sales and sort of the following had built up enough where just in 2 years you were making an investment at home to be able to roast beans.
Sure.
Okay. But also it sounds like to support a wholesale business as well.
Yes. So at that point, it was Saturday mornings at the Soda City market. We were dabbling with some other markets as well, but that's where the time investment became really challenging. And we were also, I was doing a lot of the roasting. I'd come home, eat dinner, put the kids in bed, and then go out to the garage and roast.
Go to work again.
Yeah.
So you had a day job,
right?
But this was becoming more than a side hustle. When did you make the leap from, or what caused you guys to really start thinking seriously about having a place called Indah?
We started getting more serious at trying to, the idea of adding a cafe probably around 2014, 2015 is when we started looking at that. And we just had, after thousands of people say, I look forward to this cup of coffee all week. When are y'all gonna do a cafe so I can come get your coffee during the week? We started thinking about, okay, I've heard that enough. I think there's something there. Most people say, oh, it'd be cool to have a cafe. I've always wanted to do that. Now let's figure out how to do it. For me, it was like, I didn't know if I'd wanted to do a cafe. I thought about just doing the wholesale side to start. And so I guess it's a little different on that. We're really glad we did the cafe. It worked out well, but I think at some point that was a moment where we had to hear it enough times to where it started making sense that, hey, there's something here.
How many years do you think you heard those comments about, we want a cafe, it would be cool if you had a cafe, when's the cafe coming?
Yeah, that's I wish I was better with the chronology on that, but it was over a lot of years.
Wow. I think that's something that a lot of people, perhaps the one of the footnotes here is that, I think people think about, especially like maybe with food, like, I need to start a business and have a place. I open the doors and I hope people come in there. But I think with your story, with Indah's story, I think you said over the course of years, people were asking and asking and asking. And I'm sure there was some ebb and flow to that. But the fact that you guys were willing to wait for years before you went into kind of a retail establishment, I think is sort of unusual. Was there ever a point between beans and the shop where you thought about just giving up? I mean, what was that like?
Quite a bit. There were plenty of times where it's just, like, hey, this is, the revenue is improving constantly, for Saturdays, and we have some wholesale customers, but we didn't have the infrastructure to, as far as it was like, I was making deliveries on the way into work, and I was up late roasting at night, and then it was Friday nights prep for Saturday at Soda City, and then after Soda City on Saturday, come home and clean it up. So it really had become pretty time intensive at that point. So I think there are a lot of gut checks of, do I love this? Do I believe in this? Do I want to keep doing it? And my wife and I kind of joke about, as far as entrepreneurship, if we have one skill set, it maybe is we're stubborn and persevere. So there were plenty of times to give up, and maybe on paper would have made sense to give up. But we believed in it, couldn't let it go. So
Yeah. That's interesting that you mentioned your wife and that you both sort of had a mindedness about sort of Indah and what it was, but what you thought it could become. What would you say to that? I mean, if you started in 2010 and it's 2020 now, and you've had the shop for what, about 2 years?
we opened up the brick and mortar on Sumter Street in early 2017.
17. Okay, so almost 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
But this has been at least a decade-long journey, just from when you started roasting beans. And like you said,
Sure.
before that, you had to develop the love and the travel and all that, so even more time before that. So I'm sure there's somebody out there that's watching this that's probably at that point, somewhere along that 10 or 15-year journey that you've already done. And they're thinking, there's a lot of reasons I should stop doing this. That would make sense, that maybe my spouse would agree with, that my family would agree with, that no one would say I was crazy for doing it. What advice, what wisdom, what encouragement could you offer someone that might find themselves at that point right now?
You know, I think there's a lot to be said for just stick-to-itness and just pushing through even when it's difficult. Using those setbacks as opportunities to reevaluate and say, what could we do differently? And sometimes the original plan of where you think you're going to go and where you end up might not look exactly the same, but the process and the
You mean
journey,
there's no straight line to success?
not in our case.
Okay.
Maybe for some people.
Right.
But the process, really, when we look back, it's kind of a cool thing to see how sometimes it's surreal to think back, like, we're doing this. This is our full-time thing. So yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm glad you did. We love the coffee. We've known you guys for a long time. The place is great. There's always people there. It feels like that it's building community, and it's part of a community.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's just a really cool, sort of side thing that goes with creating a business. Thanks for being willing to do this and to kind of share your story here on Footnotes. I think, like I said, the footnote of sticking with things, the footnote of building a brand before you maybe build a business, I think is something that I think a lot of people don't realize. They might think, hey, I need a business first to grow my brand. You guys did it reverse, and that's probably why you're seeing a lot of the success that you're seeing today.
It's our time at Soda City Market, I think, was instrumental when we opened up on a Tuesday night in 2017, and we had 1,000 people show up at our grand opening.
Wow. 1,000
and so a lot of people ask me, wow, what is your secret? How did you, like you're a marketing genius, or what firm did you hire, PR firm, to get all those people to come out? And honestly, I was kind of surprised. I thought maybe 100 people would show up. And we didn't really prepare for 1,000 people, but people who had been journeying with us over that time and who had come to believe in what we were doing, they showed up. And it just kind of, it was a grassroots kind of word of mouth. So it's funny, I get asked that, from time to time. How did you get? In fact, I had a commercial real estate developer who told us we were crazy for going to Cottontown, and said, I don't know how you would get traffic to this location. And so I think at some level, I tell people that I was a 7-year overnight success. So,
Yeah, you're like, hey, I got a couple hundred Saturdays baked into this thing already.
So yeah,
that's really cool. Hey, thanks for coming out and sharing that with us.
Yeah. So thanks for having us.